Your child has gone from calm to complete meltdown in seconds, and you don't even know why. They seemed fine 5 minutes ago. No warning signs, no obvious trigger. You're exhausted, worried, and feeling helpless because you can't figure out what they need. What if I told you that your child might not know either? And what if I told you the reason that they can't tell you what's wrong or even access their communication system when they're dysregulated is because they literally cannot feel what's happening inside their own body? Today, we're talking about interoception, the eighth sense you've probably never heard of, but that might be that missing piece to understanding your child's dysregulation. So here's what we're going to dive into. First, what interoception actually is and why it's the foundation for regulation. Then we'll talk about how interoception difficulties show up in children with autism and sensory motor challenges. Third, the critical connection between interoception and self-injurious behavior. We'll talk about why traditional behavioral approaches often miss the mark, and I'll give you practical strategies to support interoception development at any age. And finally, we'll talk about how to become your child's external regulation system while building their internal awareness. Hi, I'm Dr. Dana Johnson, an occupational therapist with a PhD in child mental health and development, and I have advanced training in functional and nutritional medicine. I spent 2 decades working directly with children and adults who would be considered level 3 autism who are significantly affected and many of whom struggle with interoception. So what exactly is interoception? Most of us learned about the 5 senses in school: sight, hearing, touch, taste, and smell. Then if you're in the autism community, you're probably heard of 2 more: proprioception, which is the sense of body position, and vestibular, which is your sense of balance and movement. Interoception is the 8th sense. It's your ability to feel what's happening inside your body. We're talking about things like hunger and thirst, when you need to use the restroom, your heart rate and breathing, body temperature, pain, nausea, muscle tension, emotions as physical sensations, for example, like butterflies in your stomach or that tight feeling in your chest. Now, here's what makes this sense so critical. Interoception is literally the foundation of self-regulation. Think about it. How do you know when you need to eat? Well, you feel hungry. How do you know when you need to use the restroom? Well, you feel the signals from your bladder. How do you know you're getting overwhelmed? Well, your heart races, your breathing gets shallow, your muscles tense up. But what happens if you can't feel these signals? Or if the signals are so quiet that you don't notice them until they're screaming, or they're so loud and chaotic that they're just overwhelming noise. You can't regulate something that you can't feel. For neurotypical children, interoception develops naturally. They learn to recognize I'm hungry versus I'm tired versus I'm anxious. They learn that tight chest feeling means that they need to calm down before they explode. But for many of my non-speaking autistic clients, especially those with complex autism and sensory motor challenges, interoception doesn't develop typically. And this creates a cascade of challenges that look like behavioral problems, but are actually the intersection of sensory processing issues and motor planning difficulties. Now let me paint you a picture of what interoception difficulties actually look like in daily life for some non-speaking individuals with whole body apraxia that I work with. Now, your child might never seem to feel hungry or go from fine to starving meltdown in seconds with nothing in between. They may not realize when they need to use the restroom until they've already had an accident, or realize it but can't make their body move to get to the bathroom on time. They may wear a winter coat in the summer or wear shorts in the winter because they can't accurately read their body temperature. They may not notice when they're sick until they're extremely ill because they don't register fever, pain, or nausea early on. They may seem to have an incredibly high pain tolerance for some things but overreact completely to minor bumps. And they may go from complete calm to complete dysregulation with no apparent signs. And here's the compounding challenge. Even when they do recognize is an internal sensation, whole body apraxia makes it incredibly difficult to communicate about it or take action to address it. Think about what your body does automatically when you're thirsty. You feel thirst, your brain plans the motor sequence, and your body executes it smoothly without conscious thought about each step. For someone with whole body apraxia, every single step requires tremendous effort and motor planning. The body doesn't follow this automatic script. Each movement needs to be consciously initiated, and even then might not happen as intended. So even if they recognize thirst, the motor sequence to get water feels impossibly complex. Some non-speaking individuals are hyposensitive to interoceptive input, meaning that the signals are too quiet. They don't feel the early whispers of hunger, fatigue, or emotional overwhelm. By the time they do notice something, they're in crisis mode. There's no gas gauge gently warning them they're running low. The engine just suddenly stops. Others are hypersensitive, meaning every internal sensation is amplified and overwhelming. Their heart beating feels alarming. Digestion could be painful and uncomfortable. Breathing takes so much effort. They exist in a constant state of physical discomfort that they can't escape, explain, or effectively respond to because of motor planning challenges. And many fluctuate between both, sometimes not feeling enough and sometimes feeling everything too much, creating an unpredictable internal experience. Now let's talk about the heartbreaking part. How interoception and whole body apraxia together connect to dysregulation and self-injurious behavior. When you can't feel or interpret your body's signals accurately and you can't reliably make your body do what you want to do, we sometimes see self-injury. Now, this may not be what we think it is. Self-injury can actually serve multiple functions. For example, seeking intense sensation to feel something. If the interoceptive system is hyposensitive, a person might hit, bite, or bang their head to create a sensation strong enough to actually register. It's not that they're trying to hurt themselves, they're trying to feel themselves. Head banging creates intense proprioceptive, vestibular, and interoceptive input that finally breaks through the sensory quiet. And unlike other movements that require complex motor planning, self-injury can become a reliable motor pattern, something their body can do when other intentional movements fail. Secondly, communicating overwhelming discomfort. Now, if someone is in pain, feels nauseated, has a pounding headache, or is experiencing anxiety as physical sensation, but they can't identify it and they can't make their body use their communication system, self-injury becomes a communication tool that their body can execute. They're saying, something is wrong with my body, and the only way that their motor system can reliably respond is through self-injury. Number 3, attempting to override one sensation with another. Now, sometimes people are experiencing such overwhelming internal discomfort, maybe digestive pain or the feeling of their own heartbeat or generalized physical anxiety, that they actually create a different, more controllable sensation through self-injury. It's like how you might pinch yourself to distract from another pain. For someone with whole body apraxia, self-injury might be one of the few physical actions that they can consistently initiate when other regulation strategies require more motor planning that they can't access in that moment. Fourth, responding to complete interoceptive confusion and motor planning frustration. Now, imagine getting signals from your body that you can't interpret, sensations that are distressing but make no sense. You can't figure out if you're hot or cold, hungry or nauseated, in pain or just uncomfortable. This confusion is terrifying. Now add the frustration of trying to communicate or take action and having your body refuse to cooperate. Your hand won't move to your AAC device. You can't make yourself walk to show someone. You're trapped in confusion without the motor access to get help. Self-injury can be a response to that terror, confusion, and profound frustration. And finally, the reliable motor pattern when everything else fails. Now, here's something critical to understand about whole body apraxia. Self-injurious behaviors often become motor prisons. The brain develops strong neural pathways for these movements because they're practiced repeatedly. These patterns then become more automatic automatic than intentional, purposeful movements. When someone is dysregulated, their brain defaults to the most established motor patterns, which actually might be self-injury, even if they don't want to. They may be trapped watching their body harm itself, unable to stop the motor pattern that has become so ingrained. Now, here's what traditional behavioral approaches miss. If we only address self-injury as a behavior without addressing the underlying interoceptive challenges and the motor planning difficulties, we're essentially putting a Band-Aid on a broken bone. Okay, so what do we actually do with this information? How do we support interoception development in children with complex needs? Well, here's a few strategies for you. Number 1, become a body detective together. You're going to help your child become aware of their internal sensations by narrating them, even if your child is non-speaking or doesn't respond. Throughout the day, calmly label body sensations. For example, I can hear your stomach growling. That's your body telling you that it's time to eat. Or you're breathing really fast. That is your body working hard. Or you're yawning, so your body might be telling you that it's tired. Now, don't expect responses. You're building the connection between the sensation and meaning, and this takes time. Secondly, build interoceptive awareness through sensory activities. Activities that create clear, interpretable body sensations. For example, heavy work activities, pushing, pulling, carrying that create obvious muscle feedback. Anything with deep pressure like weighted blankets, compressions, squeezes, breathing exercises, for example, are great to help to stimulate that parasympathetic system. Another one is heartbeat awareness. So after jumping jacks or jumping on a trampoline, place a hand on their chest to find their pulse and narrate, your muscles are working really hard. Feel them getting tired? Now feel them relaxing. And your heart is beating fast. Put your hand here and feel it. You end up becoming their external interoceptive system until theirs develops. Now let me share 5 mindset shifts that might help you on this journey. Number 1, behavior can be communication, but it's not manipulation. Your child isn't choosing to be difficult. They're responding to internal experiences that they can't understand or communicate conventionally. And sometimes their body is doing things they may not want to do. Whole body apraxia means the body doesn't always follow the person's intentions. This compassion shift is huge. Imagine being trapped in a body that won't cooperate with your thoughts. Mind shift number 2. Progress isn't linear, but that's okay. Remember, whole body apraxia is consistently inconsistent. Some days your child might seem more motorically available. Other days, they'll seem completely disconnected and trapped in their body. Interoceptive sensitivity can fluctuate with stress, illness, environmental factors. And motor access fluctuates too. That's not regression, that's just the nature of the challenge. Mind shift number 3. Your child's interoceptive experience is different, but not deficient. You're not trying to make them feel things normally. Everyone experiences sensations differently. We're trying to help them understand their body's unique signals and work with their system, not against it. And finally, number 4, you're doing detective work. You're not diagnosing. You can't always know exactly what your child is feeling or trying to do, but you can become an expert observer of patterns, a provider of what they might need, and a patient teacher of body awareness, while always presuming their competence and internal experience. And finally, mind shift number 5. Self-care isn't selfish. Supporting a non-speaking individual with interoceptive challenges and whole body apraxia is exhausting because you're providing the regulation that they can't provide themselves, and you're providing motor support for basic needs. You need support, you need breaks, and you need your own regulation strategies. You cannot pour from an empty cup, and your child needs you functioning. Understanding interoception and whole body apraxia together has the power to transform how you see your child's dysregulation. This isn't about fixing behavior. It's about understanding the internal sensory experience and the motor challenges that they face. Their interoceptive system is processing information differently, and their motor system doesn't reliably execute their intention. They need support building awareness and communication around their internal world while also receiving support support to move through and communicate about that world. Most importantly, they are in there. Behind the motor challenges, behind the communication barriers, behind the self-injury, there is a whole person with thoughts, feelings, preferences, and opinions. They deserve to be presumed competent, spoken to with respect, and given every opportunity to communicate their internal experience. Now, this all can be overwhelming, but start small. Pick 1 or 2 strategies from today's video. Progress will be gradual, and that's not just okay, that's expected. You're building neural pathways for interoceptive awareness, and you're creating alternative motor pathways. This is profound, important work. If this video helped you understand your child differently, please share it with other parents who need to hear this message. And drop a comment telling me what was your big aha moment from today's video. And remember, you're not alone in this journey. Your child is whole, capable, and deserving of understanding and support. And they're so lucky to have a parent willing to learn about their unique internal experience and motor challenges. Thank you, and I will see you on the next video.